We're kicking off the NFL draft with some The Football Fever coverage. Of course, the Football Fever team, joined by our resident analyst, former NFL pro and former Buckeye Jay Richardson.
How you doing?
And Jay, let's kick things off. Take us back to your NFL draft and your experience.
Oh, man, the draft was a very uncertain thing for me. I was all over the board. People were saying, hey, you could be as early second round. Some were saying, I'm not sure you're going to get drafted. We don't know what's going to happen.
Wow.
Draft day comes. By the way, combine, I was awful at the combine. I had strep throat. I wasn't feeling good. I don't think I ran well. I don't think I lifted well. I don't think I did anything well at the combine. And I left thinking, I don't know that I'm draftable. And you meet with all these teams. You don't know who's interested. Turns out on draft day, I get a phone call. Not even watching the draft at that point.
You weren't even watching the draft at that point.
I'm so annoyed because day one, I got a phone call from the Jaguars, Jacksonville, and they're going, hey, man, we want you bad, big fella. I think we're going to be able to get you here at the top of the third. And I'm thinking, okay, sounds good. Top of the third comes, they take a punter. They take a punter. Not like a superstar punter, not Shane Leckler, 10-time Pro Bowler. No, they just take some guy that we've never heard of and we haven't since. Very upset about that. However, cut the whole thing off. Next day I get a phone call and I'm not even watching and it's Lane Kiffin and he's asking me if I'm watching the draft. I'm going, no. And he's like, well, you should. I'm like, why is that? He's like, because I just drafted you. Oh, okay.
Wait,
I got a job.
Coach, I'm going to turn it on right now.
Cut it on and there it is, pick number 138. Life-changing. Very, very good. Very, very impactful experience. All these guys are about to go through this process. They're going to feel the anxieties. There's going to be a lot of emotional ups and downs. I'll say one thing I say to every year. It is not when you go. It's where you go.
Yep.
All right. Let's hop in right now on C.J. Stroud and all the negative that he's had to endure the last probably month and a half. I'm guessing, as a former Oakland Raider, you would love to see the Las Vegas Raiders, but that would mean he slips to 7.
Yeah.
Is that preposterous? And what do you think this is about him and wow, they just painted him as a kid who can't do anything.
Call it what it is. It's a smear campaign.
Smear.
Can we just call it what it is, right? I mean, crew, you guys have seen everything that's come out in the last week and a half. We've seen this movie before, by the way. Justin Fields sets the world on fire for Ohio State after he transfers, lights it up, rushing, passing, has fantastic receivers, executes the offense brilliantly, never had a negative report about his cognition or being able to read defenses. No one's ever said anything like that. All of a sudden, week before the draft, all these strange reports come out about him falling asleep in meetings and all these weird things. No one's ever said that. Ryan Day denies all of it. He slips in the draft, goes to Chicago. You're seeing the exact same script play out right now. Teams put out a lot of smoke screens leading into the draft. They do this because they want value. If they can drive someone's value down, they can buy low. And it's no different than the stock market, and you're seeing it right now with CJ.
It's economics.
It's simple economics. I hate it for CJ. However, I love it for CJ because for some reason he does fall out of the top 5, which he shouldn't. Anybody who has any sort of understanding of the way the quarterback position is played in the NFL knows he is 1A, 1B in this draft. I mean, it is Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and it's basically what style of offense do you want to run based on which one you want to take. They're equal in talent. However, the smear campaign is on. He'll fall. Possibly, if he falls to Las Vegas and he gets to go out there, let Garoppolo do his thing, you get to learn for a few weeks, I guarantee you by week 6 he will be the starter.
But here's my question. Despite the smear campaign, I mean, I still think he could easily be taken 2nd overall. Do you still think that not everybody's buying into these reports, not all the GMs are buying into these reports, and he'll still go as projected as a possible
Kellyanne, this happens every year. You would think these NFL GMs are savvy enough to know what other GMs are doing and how these things are happening. By the way, it's always some anonymous scout that who doesn't put his name on the report that says all this negative stuff about a kid. Happened with Lamar Jackson, too.
Had you heard of this test? Because for years we took the Wonderlic. I had not seen this cognition as it's referred to. How long has it been employed? Do you know?
This is a test. I want to say it's been around about 15 seasons or so. They say
I think it was
not all the guys.
Okay, I think when I was looking up some research on it, and it's like 9 segments, and it's on like a laptop from what I've been reading. And they have different decisions or different tests that test your decision-making ability, how fast you can process the game, identifying formations. But it's all done on this laptop. It's kind of like the SAT-esque, and
it's something that a lot lot of guys agents don't prepare them for, because I don't know that it's still, as you said, it's still relatively new.
Yeah.
And when you compare it to the Wonderlic, it's very different. It's more quarterback offensive specific.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know if any of these scores, by the way, folks, are verified. Like, everyone's been saying, I reached out, guys are like, dude, no one knows if that's verified. Like, it's just reports coming out that are nameless, faceless reports.
Sling it up against the wall.
Yes.
See if it sticks.
Yeah.
All right. Are you good with CJ? Do you need to anything else?
If Houston's smart and CJ's still there at number 2, which, by the way, the entire organization for the Carolina Panthers came to pro day. The owner, the owner's wife, sitting down with CJ.
Everybody.
It would not surprise me at all if CJ still goes 1 overall.
Yeah.
However, if he does go 2 to Houston, they got themselves a fantastic football player, and I think it'll be a good thing for CJ. I'd rather him, if you're going to fall, rather you fall to a team that has a stable organization, though.
And either way, I think he's going to prove himself and play with that chip on his shoulder and everything that we've seen him do here at Ohio State.
All right. Paris Johnson Jr., a lot of buzz here midweekish about moving up to 3, where he was a mid-first rounder.
Yes.
What's not to like?
Fantastic footwork for a guy that size. And we saw that viral clip of him kick sliding and switching feet and being able to kind of like, I can go left, I can go right, I can play even at guard if you want to start him off there. He's just got such versatility. He's got such length and fantastic footwork. I think the Jets, Cincinnati, if he falls out of the top 7, I think you got the Jets and Cincinnati still sitting there in that 10 to 14 range. They're going to need one of our 2 tackles, and I got a feeling, I think we all can agree, Paris is going to be the first one.
And he'd be involved in the community on day 2.
Yeah, he would integrate himself right in there.
Right, he'd show up for the presser, do that, and hey, where do I impact Cincinnati?
That's the kind of kid he is. Yes. And if you look at all the offensive tackles in this draft, he might be the safest pick. He's a guy that's just been rock solid for a handful of seasons, and you don't see tons of one-on-one mental errors or getting overpowered physically at the point of contact. He's solid.
Great football player and an even better person.
Yes.
Now looking at our third Buckeye that I believe we could have 3 drafted in the top 20, wide receiver Jaxon, Smith-Njigba. Do you still think that he's going to be the first wide receiver off the board?
Yeah, this is interesting. I want to call him Jaxon Smith Enigma because we're not sure. No one knows exactly what's going to happen with Jax, and yet everyone can agree he's probably the most talented wide receiver. It helped him so much to go in there and run that 4.4 and to show the smoothness in his hips. Did all the drills. All teams wanted to know was, is he healthy?
Right.
Because that hamstring was it just kept nagging. He kept giving it a go, coming out, giving it a go, coming out. And teams get a little worried because you don't want to pay a premium for a product that you can't use in OTAs, get integrated right away, and come into camp ready to rock and roll. He proved he is. I think he will still be the first wide receiver taken off the board. And I wouldn't be shocked if it is the Texans at 12 after they've paired him with his collegiate quarterback at number 2.
I was going to say, let's have fun for a minute. Let's think of this dream that could be a real scenario.
Absolute dream scenario.
CJ Stroud and Jaxon Smith-Njigba linking up together in the NFL. We would love to see that.
Now, does Njigba have to play in the slot?
No. So you'll see reports from a lot of scouts will tell you, dude, the guy can be a number 1.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be coming into an offense. If he gets drafted by a team that has an already proven number 1, that's fantastic for him. He's got a guy to learn from, and he can work the slot. He'll get the mismatches, and he will get the corner that the other team doesn't feel is their best guy.
Sure.
He's going to eat him alive.
Yeah.
I think for him, it's just continuing to develop on the edges because you don't know what's going to happen throughout the course of a season. You have to play multiple positions, but he can do that. He's just super dynamic, and that's what makes him, I think, a special guy over at Jalen Hyatt, who is a little bit longer but doesn't have the dynamic route running that Jaxon has. It's not even close.
All right, you want to go to the Man Mountain, DeJuan Jones, on the other side of the trenches.
Sometimes 6'9",
Thanos.
400-pounder.
Well, I was about to say. And maybe he slimmed to 374 on a good day.
He took a weekend of no cheeseburgers to get to 370. Listen, Big Thanos, they call him.
Could you in your heyday get around him?
Oh,
I could get around him, but man, it's a long journey. And I don't know. By the time I got around him, the ball's probably going to be out because he's got such length. He's a big, thick dude. He's still got good footwork. He's not where Paris is with his discipline. And I think the thing with DeJuan was false starts, and we know we've watched those OSU games where it's like but when he's right, He's as good as anybody in the country. He's got the biggest upside because of the length, the biggest wingspan at the combine. And then he ran a 5.38 at almost 400 pounds. I don't care how you look at 40s. That is moving. I mean, not too many mammals are going to do that out there in the open field, just take off running like that. The dude's different, man.
Mammal.
I just think that he's somebody that I think a team could, depending on how many tackles go in those first 16, 17 picks, he's going to find himself in there in round one.
What are your opinions? We talked earlier about before Pro Day. Your guy, Zach Harrison.
Yeah.
That reminds you of yourself.
Correct. And in this regard, he's a guy that you knew he had a high ceiling and he could be really special, but you just didn't see it year in and year out. We were all kind of waiting for it.
Yeah,
and he's got these high-end defensive ends. He's kind of walking in there and trying to fill the shoes of a Bosa, of a Chase Young, and we're so used to that. And then you get Zach, and productive player, played his butt off.
Great senior year.
Very.
Great. So I was just getting to that. He played his way this senior year, quietly almost, it felt like, into
just put his head down,
maybe early second round. I mean, Zach is somebody that in clutch games, I look at that Iowa game coming up with that big strip. I look at the Maryland game. He had one near the end zone, I think, ended up getting returned for a touchdown. Length. So you don't have too many guys in this draft who are edge players that have the kind of length he has, the kind of wingspan. He interrupted tons of passes, knocked down a lot of balls, and he's still learning how to pass rush. So when you get him with a guy that understands pass rush, like if you get Tennessee, where to get Zach, and they play that 4-3, and they've got a guy there named Keith Millard, who's a former he's a former Minnesota Vikings player from the 80s, but he is a pass rush guru specialist. He helped me immensely in my career. If he can get his hands on Zach in Tennessee, that is a guy that will develop you. He's going to be a special player. I think Zach's best years of football are actually in front of him.
And he feels that way too. He told me that at Pro Day, that he still felt like the best years are ahead of him. Now I want to walk it back real quick about Zach. You mentioned possible second rounder?
Yeah, I think he's worked his way into the second round. I don't know that there's going to be tons of edge guys who have his kind of range. The guys are getting more and more one-dimensional coming out of college. You're seeing these explosive guys like Alabama has with Anderson, where they're coming off the edge, but they don't have the size to maybe play first and second down. So you have to move them around, maybe put him as a stand-up. Whereas Zach, he can play all three downs. I mean, you can put him in a 4-3 at right end, left end, and let him play the whole game on every down, and he's going to be a productive player. And I think that's old-school defensive end play, like a Michael Strahan, these guys that could just be consistently productive. He's one of those guys.
All right, one of my favorites at center.
Yes,
Luke Whippler.
Luke Whippler.
You're Jalen Carter. I'm Luke Whippler.
I was just going to bring up Jalen.
He got his hands in there.
Jalen's trying to remove the can. It's not working.
Held him inside.
He's handling a 300-plus pounder. Oh, sorry about that.
So everyone wonders where he came from, because it's almost like he came out of nowhere with where I think he's projected now.
Okay.
But you just illustrated why. He shut down the premier interior defensive lineman of this draft in the biggest game of the season. I didn't hear Jalen Carter's name called more than once or twice against Georgia. And
that's amazing.
That's fantastic. So if I'm a scout, it's hard to grade interior offensive line play from the combine or that stuff. You got to cut on film for those guys, right? Because the 40 he's going to run, or him
not going to jump off.
Him doing some drills, kick sliding. Anybody could look pretty. I can do that in a blazer right now. I'm not going to look as good as him, but how do you evaluate it? You cut the film on. He shut down everybody he went against, and I cannot think of his name, but Iowa has a fantastic defensive end, number 91. You can watch him on film. He kicks down on third down on the inside. He got shut down by Luke. Luke is rock solid, not massive, almost like a Nick Mangold, where he's not this massive guy, but man, he's got strong hands and he's got a fantastic anchor, and he's smart.
You can't move him.
No.
I think he's 6'3", 300.
Yeah.
And there's guys who tower over him. But he is a rock.
It's the anchor, and he's the kind of guy that will understand protections and understand what defenses want to do. He'll call out the mic. He'll take care of that stuff for his quarterback. And then he's just a great helper on pass pro. He's just going to have his hands on everybody.
He's a mid-round.
I would put Luke as a early third rounder. I think he's moved his way up, and I think I wouldn't be shocked if he went late second as well, depending on how many offensive linemen go in the first round.
High IQ, great leader, and supposed great juggler and stand-up comedian. So he's a man
of
many
funny
talent.
Too? How
about
that? Right? There's a locker room guy you need.
You'll find that out on ABC 6. Your turn. Who we got left?
Yeah, I mean, we have a handful of Buckeyes that could go.
I mean, Ronnie Hickman is a safety.
Cam Brown.
Hickman and Brown, I feel like, are a couple guys that would be great value picks, fifth, sixth rounders. There's a chance one or both don't go, but I guarantee you both of those guys will make rosters in the fall. You got to realize these teams love value late, and they like to get guys who are going to play all the special teams, and those two guys are going to be on every special team for some program this fall. It's inevitable for those two.
Well, and Ohio State guys produce. So
flat out.
They do.
Cincinnati's finally found that.
I do.
Yes.
Anyway. Yes.
If the Browns could, anyway. And by the way, the Browns don't pick until a month from now. I mean, they have no picks in the first
They
couple.
mortgaged the farm.
They did.
And man, it better pay off.
I was going to say, we'll see if it pays off.
One more, just let's say, if I said, what are the Bengals? They pick at 26, I believe.
The Bengals are either 22 or 26, I forget, but I would say the Bengals are who is going to end up getting DeJuan Jones. If you had to ask me what they're going to do,
wow,
they are still needing protection. Joe Burrow is still in the top 5 among sacked quarterbacks last season. Still with the talent that they've invested around Joe, and in Joe, you got to get some insurance for the he's the big show.
Guy, your star guy. I believe in the postseason they were just piecing together that offensive line.
You're exactly right. They got the big dude out of Oregon last year, and I think they're going to pair him with DeJuan. And DeJuan can also play guard if he needs to. If they don't feel he's ready to be on the island getting necessarily out there, they can slide him inside. For him, it's all mental. Just know the snap count, big fella. Know the snap count, and you're a tough guy to beat, man.
All right. Good stuff.
Yes, absolutely. This is going to be a fun draft.
Thanks for the insight.
We're going to have possibly as many Buckeyes drafted as we've had in the first round. And I can't think of the year. It's been a long time, but we're going to have possibly
you think four.
Yeah, I think we might have 4 guys in the first round.
And the fourth would be?
I think it might be DeJuan, because I think you're going to go CJ, you're going to go Jax, you're going to go Paris, and DeJuan might sneak in there late to Cincy in that 20 to 26 area. I think that could be a thing.
And to think he came here as a basketball player. That was his
But did you see his basketball highlights?
He can hoop.
Man, he's one diet playing away from being on the hardwood.
You don't need him on your beer league.
No, I don't want those problems. I'll probably pop a quad messing with somebody that big. I don't want that.
Huge.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, check us out on YouTube, ABC6.
Yes.
We'll be right there. Jay, thanks so much. Kellyanne, our moderator. Let's go back to you.